Well, welcome everyone on Zoom. Welcome to those in the temple. Yeah, looks like everyone's here. Your cat's a lot better behaved than mine, Sunanda.
Yeah.
We are reading the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, and we are on At the Star Theater, Part 1, on page 541. The Master has just described what a man of realization is like. Sometimes he's like a boy, sometimes like a young man. As a boy, he's very light-hearted. He may use frivolous language. As a young man, he's like a roaring lion while teaching others. You'd better explain my state of mind to the Mukherjees. I don't have to do that. Haven't they the sense to see it? Again, the Master became light-hearted with the boys. Then he said to one of the devotees, "Today is the new moon. Go to the Kali temple in the evening." And there's a footnote there. The night of the new moon is especially auspicious for the worship of the Divine Mother. It was dusk. They heard the sound of gongs, cymbals, and other instruments used in the evening service in the temples. The Master said to Babaram, "Come with me to the Kali temple." He and Babaram went toward the temple, accompanied by M. At the sight of Harish sitting on the porch, the Master said, "What is this? Is he in ecstasy?" Going through the courtyard, the Master and the devotees stopped a minute in front of the Radhakanta temple to watch the worship. Then they proceeded to the shrine of Kali. With folded hands, the Master prayed to the Divine Mother, O Divine Mother, O Brahmamayi." Reaching the raised platform in front of the shrine, he bowed low before the image. The arati was going on. He entered the shrine and fanned the image. The evening worship was over. The devotees bowed before the deity. It was the night of the new moon. The Master was in a spiritual mood. Gradually, his mood deepened into intense ecstasy. He returned to his room, reeling like a drunkard and holding to Babaram's hand. A lamp was lighted on the west porch. The Master sat there a few minutes chanting Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om, and other mystic symbols of the Tantra. Presently, he returned to the room and sat on the small couch facing the east. He was completely absorbed in divine fervor. He said to the Divine Mother, "Mother, that I should first speak and you then act. Oh, that's nonsense. What is the meaning of talk? It is nothing but a sign. One man says, 'I shall eat.' Again another says, 'No, I won't hear of it.' Well, Mother, suppose I had said I would not eat. Wouldn't I still feel hungry? Is it ever possible that you should listen only when one prays aloud and not when one feels an inner longing? You are what you are. Then why do I speak? Why do I pray? I do as you make me do. Oh, what confusion. Why do you make me reason?" As Sri Ramakrishna was thus talking to God, the devotees listened, wonderstruck, to his words. The Master's eyes fell upon them. Master to the devotees, one must inherit good tendencies to realize God. One must have done something, some form of tapasya, either in this life or in another. When Draupadi's clothes were being taken off, she cried earnestly, praying to God. There's a footnote on that. Draupadi was the wife of the 5 Pandava brothers. In order to humiliate her in the court, Duryodhana ordered her clothes to be taken off. God revealed himself to her and said, "Try to remember whether you have ever made a gift of a cloth to anyone. Then your modesty will be preserved." Draupadi said, "Yes, I remember now. Once a rishi was taking his bath when his loincloth was carried away by the current. I tore off half my cloth and gave it to him. Thereupon the Lord said, "Then you have nothing to fear." M was sitting on the small foot rug. Master to M, "You've understood what I said." M, "Yes, sir. You spoke about inherent tendencies." Master, "Repeat what I said." M repeated the story of Draupadi. Hazra entered the room. He had been living with Ramakrishna in the temple garden for the past 2 years and had first met the master in 1880 in Shihor, in the house of Hridoy, the master's nephew. Hazra's native village was near Shihor, and he owned some property there. He had a wife and children, and also some debts. From youth he had felt a spirit of renunciation and sought the company of holy men and devotees. The master had asked him to live with him at Dakshineshwar and looked after his necessities. Hazra's mind was a jumble of undigested religious moods. He professed the path of knowledge and disapproved of Sri Ramakrishna's attitude of bhakti and his longing for the young devotees. Now and then he thought of the master as a great soul, but again he slighted him as an ordinary human being. He spent much of his time in telling his beads, and he criticized Rakhal and the other young men for their indifference to the practice. He was a strong advocate of religious conventions and rules of conduct, and made a fad of them. He was about 38 years old. As Hazra came in, the master became a little abstracted, and in that mood began to talk. Master to Hazra, what you are doing is right in principle, but the application is not quite correct. Don't find fault with anyone, not even with an insect. As you pray to God for devotion, so also pray that you may not find fault with anyone. Hazrat, does God listen to our prayer for bhakti? Master, surely. I can assure you of that 100 times, but the prayer must be genuine and earnest. Do worldly-minded people weep for God as they do for their wife and children? At Kamarpukur, the wife of a certain man fell ill. The man thought she would not recover. He began to tremble and was about to faint. Who feels that way for God? Hazra was about to take the dust of the master's feet. Master, shrinking, what is this? Hazrat, why should I not take the dust of his feet who has so kindly kept me with him? Master, satisfy God, and everyone will be satisfied. If he is pleased, the world is pleased. Once the Lord ate a few greens from Draupadi's cooking pot and said, "Ah, I am satisfied." Immediately the whole world and all its living beings were satisfied. They felt as if they had eaten their fill. But was the world satisfied, or did it feel that way when the rishis ate their food? To Hazra, a perfect soul, even after attaining knowledge, practices devotions or observes religious ceremonies to set an example to others. I go to the Kali temple and I bow before the holy pictures in my room. Therefore, others do the same. Further, if a man has become habituated to such ceremonies, he feels restless if he does not observe them. One day I saw a sannyasi under the banyan tree. He had put the shalagrama on the same carpet with his guru's sandals. He was worshipping them. I said to him, if you have attained knowledge to that extent, footnote on that one, that is to say, realization of the identity of the Guru and God, then why such formal worship at all? He replied, what difference does it make? Since I do everything else, why not this too? Sometimes I offer the flowers at the Guru's feet, and sometimes to God. One cannot renounce work as long as one has a body. As long as there is mud at the bottom of the lake, bubbles will be produced. To Hazra, If there is knowledge of one, there is also knowledge of many. What will you achieve by merely study of the scriptures? The scriptures contain a mixture of sand and sugar, as it were. It is extremely difficult to separate the sugar from the sand. Therefore, one should learn the essence of the scriptures from the teacher or from a sadhu. Afterwards, what does one care for books? To the devotees, gather all the information and then plunge in. Suppose a pot has dropped in a certain part of a lake. Locate the spot and dive there. One should learn the essence of the scriptures from the guru and then practice sadhana. If one rightly follows spiritual discipline, then one directly sees God. This discipline is said to be rightly followed only when one plunges in. What will a man gain by merely reasoning about the words of the scriptures? The fools. They reason themselves to death over information about the path. They never take the plunge. What a pity. You may say, even though you dive deep, you are still in danger of sharks and crocodiles, of lust and anger. But dive after rubbing your body with the turmeric powder. Then sharks and crocodiles will not come near you. The turmeric is discrimination and renunciation. To the devotees, God made me pass through the disciplines of various paths. First according to the Purana, then according to the Tantra. I also followed the disciplines of the Vedas. At first I practiced sadhana in the Panchavati. I made a grove of tulsi plants and used to sit inside it and meditate. Sometimes I cried with a longing heart, Mother, Mother, or again, Rama, Rama. While repeating the name of Rama, I sometimes assumed the attitude of Hanuman and fixed a tail to the lower end of my backbone. I was in a God-intoxicated state. At that time, I used to put on a silk robe and worship the deity. What joy I experienced in that worship. I practiced the discipline of the Tantra under the bel tree. At that time, I could see no distinction between the sacred tulsi and any other plant. In that state, I sometimes ate the leavings from a jackal's meal. Footnote on that one again. In a certain form of tantric worship, food is offered to the jackals, the companions of the goddess Kali. Food that had been exposed the whole night, part of which might have been eaten by snakes or other creatures. Yes, I ate that stuff. Sometimes I rode on a dog and fed him with luchi, also eating part of the bread myself. I realized that the whole world was filled with God alone. One cannot have spiritual realization without destroying ignorance. So I would assume the attitude of a tiger and devour ignorance. While practicing the disciplines of the Vedas, I became a sannyasi. I used to lie down in the chandni and say to Hridoy, I am a sannyasi. I shall take my meals here. I vowed to the Divine Mother that I would kill myself if I did not see God. I said to her, O Mother, I am a fool. Please teach me what is contained in the Vedas, the Puranas, the Tantras, and other scriptures. The Mother said to me, the essence of the Vedanta is that Brahman alone is real and the world illusory. The Satchidananda Brahman described in the Vedas is the Satchidananda Shiva of the Tantra and the Satchidananda Krishna of the Purana. The essence of the Gita is what you get by repeating the word 10 times. It is reversed into Tagi, which indicates renunciation. After the realization of God, how far below lie the Vedas, the Vedanta, the Purana, and the Tantra? Tahasra, I cannot utter the word Om in samadhi. Why is that? I cannot say Om unless I come down very far from the state of samadhi. I had all the experiences that one should have according to the scriptures after one's direct perception of God. I behaved like a child, like a madman, like a ghoul, and like an inert thing. I saw the visions described in the scriptures. Sometimes I saw the universe filled with sparks of fire. Sometimes I saw all the quarters glittering with light, as if the world were a lake of mercury. Sometimes I saw the world as if made of liquid silver. Sometimes again I saw all the quarters illumined, as if with the light of Roman candles. So you see my experiences tally with those described in the scriptures. It was revealed to me further that God himself has become the universe and all its living beings, and the 24 cosmic principles. It is like the process of evolution and involution. Okay, a footnote on that one. That is to say, God himself evolves as the universe at the time of creation, and names and forms are involved back into God at the time of dissolution. Oh, what a state God kept me in at that time. One experience would hardly be over before another overcame me. It was like the movement of the husking machine. No sooner is one end down than the other goes up. I would see God in meditation, in the state of samadhi, and I would see the same God when my mind came back to the outer world. When looking at this side of the mirror, I would see him alone, and when looking on the reverse side, I saw the same God. The devotees listened to these words with rapt attention. To the Mukherjee brothers. Captain is now really in the state of the sadhaka, that the mere possession of wealth should create attachment is by no means true. Shambhu Malik used to say to Hridoy, Hridu, I have packed my things and I am ready for the journey. I said to him, God forbid, why do you say such ominous words? No, replied Shambhu, please bless me that I may cast aside all these possessions and go to God. God's devotees have nothing to fear. They are his own. He always stands by them. Once Duryodhana and his brothers were imprisoned by the Gandharvas. It was Yudhishthira who freed them. Yudhishthira said, if our relatives are placed in such a plight, then it is our disgrace. Now you have to remember that Duryodhana and Yudhishthira had the great fight between the Pandavas and the Mahabharata, the Gita are all descriptions of this fight between Yudhishthira and his brothers and Duryodhana. They were cousin brothers. Yeah. It was about 9 o'clock in the evening. The Mukherjee brothers were ready to return to Kolkata. The master left his seat and began to pace the room and the porch. He could hear the kirtan sung in the Vishnu temple. A devotee said that Harish and Latu were in the singing party. Sri Ramakrishna and the devotees went to the Vishnu temple and saluted the deity. The Brahmins belonging to the staff of the temple garden, and also the priests, the cooks, and the servants were singing the kirtan. He stood there a few minutes and encouraged the singers. On the way back to his room, he remarked to the devotees, you see, some of them polish the metal utensils, and some go to the houses of prostitution. The master returned to his room and took his seat. Presently the singers came and bowed low before him. The master said to them, one should perspire dancing and singing the name of God, as people do earning money. I had thought of joining you in the dancing, but I found that you did everything very well. You had flavored the curry with all the seasonings. What could I add? It will be nice if you could sing devotional songs that way now and then. The Mukherjee brothers saluted the master. Their carriage was ready near the veranda north of the room. The master stood facing the north. On his left was the Ganga. In front of him was the Nahabat, the garden, and the Kuti. And to his right was the road leading to the gate. The night was dark, and a devotee had brought a lantern to show the visitors their way. One by one the devotees bowed and took the dust of the master's feet. The carriage seemed too heavily loaded for the horses. The master said, "Aren't there too many people in the carriage?" Sri Ramakrishna remained standing. As the carriage rolled away, the devotees looked back at the master's face, beaming with compassion and love. We'll start another day. Are there any questions or comments on what we've read so far? Okay. We'll go on to Sunday, September 21st, 1884. A large number of devotees were in Sri Ramakrishna's room. Among them, Ram, Mahendra Mukherjee, M, and Chunilal. Chunilal had just returned from Vrindavan, where he had gone with Rakhal and Balaram. The two latter were still there. Nitya Gopal was also staying there. The master began to talk with Chunilal about Vrindavan. "Master, how is Rakhal?" Chuni, "He is quite well now, sir." Master, "Isn't Nitya Gopal coming back?" Chuni, "He was still there when I left." Master, "Who will bring your family back?" Chuni, "Balaram Babu told me that he would arrange it with some reliable person. He didn't mention any name." Sri Ramakrishna then spoke to Mahendra Mukherjee about Narayan, a schoolboy 16 or 17 years old, who often visited the master and was very dear to him. "Master, he's quite guileless, isn't he?" The very uttering of the word guileless filled the master with great joy. Mahendra, "Yes, sir, completely guileless." Master, "His mother came here the other day. I was a little frightened to see that she was a proud woman. That day she found that Captain, you, and many others too visited me. Then she must have realized that she and her son were not the only people to come here." All laughed. There was some sugar candy in the room, and she remarked that it was good. That made her feel that there's no scarcity of food here. I happened to tell Babaram in front of her to keep some sweets for himself and Narayan. Ganu's mother said that Narayan always bothered his mother for the boat hire to come here. His mother said to me, "Please ask Narayan to consent to marry." I replied, "All that depends on one's fate. Why should I interfere?" All laughed. Narayan is indifferent to his studies. His mother said, "Please ask him to pay a little more attention." So I said to Narayan, "Attend to your studies." Then his mother said, "Please tell him seriously." All laughed. To Chunilal, "Why doesn't Gopal come here?" Chunilal, "He has been suffering from dysentery." Master, "Is he taking any medicine?" Sri Ramakrishna was planning to go to a performance of the Chaitanya Leela at the Star Theatre. Mahendra Mukherjee was to take him to Calcutta in his carriage. They were talking about choosing good seats. Some suggested that one could see the performance well from the 1 rupee gallery. Ram said, "Oh no, I shall engage a box for him." The master laughed. Some of the devotees said that public women took part in the play. They took the parts of Nimai, Nitai, and others. Master to the devotees, "I shall look upon them as the blissful mother herself. What if one of them acts the part of Chaitanya? An imitation custard apple reminds me of the real fruit. Once, while going along a road, a devotee of Krishna noticed some babla trees. Instantly his mind was thrown into ecstasy. He remembered that the wood of the babla trees was used for the handles of the spades in the garden of the temple of Shamashundar. In the temple of Shamashundar was dug with. The spades that the garden of the temple was dug with. The trees instantly reminded him of Krishna. I was once taken to the Maidan in Calcutta to see a balloon go up. There I noticed a young English boy leaning against a tree with his body bent in 3 places. It at once brought before me the vision of Krishna, and I went into samadhi. Once Chaitanya was passing through the village. Someone told him that the body of the drum used in the kirtan was made from the earth of that village, and at once he went into ecstasy. Radha could not control herself at the sight of a cloud or the blue throat of a peacock. It would at once awaken in her mind the thought of Krishna, and she would go into ecstasy. There was a footnote about the boy bent in 3 places. Images of Krishna are usually bent in 3 parts of the body, namely the neck, the waist, and the knees. You notice he's always got his head tilted with his flute. And well, actually, I think we'll stop there because, well, no, we won't. The master was silent for a few moments and then resumed the conversation. Master, Radha had attained Mahabhava. There was no desire behind the ecstatic love of the gopis. A true lover does not seek anything from God. He prays only for pure love. He doesn't want any powers or miracles. It is very troublesome to possess occult powers. Nunkta taught me this by a story. A man who had acquired occult powers was sitting on the seashore when a storm arose. It caused him great discomfort, so he said, "Let the storm stop." His words could not remain unfulfilled. At that moment, a ship was going full sail before the wind. When the storm ceased abruptly, the ship capsized and sank. The passengers perished, and the sin of causing their death fell to that man. And because of that sin, he lost his occult powers and went to hell. Okay. Once upon a time, a sadhu acquired great occult powers. He was vain about them, but he was a good man, and he had some austerities to his credit. One day the Lord, disguised as a holy man, came to him and said, "Revered sir, I have heard that you have great occult powers." The sadhu received the Lord cordially and offered him a seat. Just then an elephant passed by. The Lord, in the disguise of the holy man, said to the sadhu, "Revered sir, can you kill this elephant if you like?" The sadhu said, "Yes, it is possible." So saying, he took a pinch of dust, muttered some mantras over it, and threw it at the elephant. The beast struggled while in pain and dropped dead. The Lord said, "What power you have! You have killed the elephant." The sadhu laughed. Again the Lord spoke. "Now, can you revive the elephant?" "That too is possible," replied the sadhu. He threw another pinch of charm dust at the beast. The elephant writhed about a little and came back to life. Then the Lord said, "Wonderful is your power. But may I ask you what thing? You have killed the elephant and you have revived it. But what has that done for you? Do you feel uplifted by it? Has it enabled you to realize God?" Saying this, the Lord vanished. I think we'll stop there. We've had our elephant story now. Tomorrow, Easter Sunday, we will be having a worship in the temple at 6:30. Anyone's welcome who can get here. At 11 o'clock, Swami Sarvadevananda will give the talk on transformation and liberation. There will be an Easter egg hunt, we hope. It might be indoors. And please join us. It would be during the talk with the Sunday school. So the parents can stay up and the kids can come down to the house and look for the eggs. We get them hidden. Were there any questions about what we're what we've read or what we're doing. I think
There was a part about the reflection or the mirror. I was a little confused about that.
Yeah, he looked on both sides of the mirror and he saw the same God in both places. So he looked and saw his reflection and saw God. He turned it around and saw the silver covering and saw God.
Okay,
Because
thank you.
in that state, everything that he saw was divine and a manifestation of God. That is the tantric affirmation of the Lord becomes everything that we see. There is nothing that is not God. So, does that make sense, Elizabeth?
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions? It's good to see you all here, and I hope we can see you. Now, also, next Saturday, we will have Karma Yoga Day from 9 to 12, and we would love to have people come. We'll see what we're doing. It'll either be inside or it will help with some cleaning up some stuff that has gathered. But we would love to see anyone who can come from 9 to 12 on Saturday the 6th. We'll have the regular reading on Wednesday. I think that's the 3rd of April, Swami Akhandananda. We're getting close to the end of the book, and I think we might do Swami Ramakrishna Nanda next. But I'll check the books. If anyone has a particular favorite on Ramakrishna Nanda, send me a quick little email and tell me what it is. Okay? So we'll end with a chant. Om Shanti, 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 Hari Om Tat Sat, Sri Ramakrishna Parnamastu. And everyone have a nice Easter. I hope we see some of you here.